Titanic 2. The Second Voyage. The Atlantic was calm that morning, its surface a glittering mirror of blue and silver. A century had passed since the tragedy of 1912, and yet, humanity's obsession with the Titanic remained unshaken. This was no ordinary ocean liner that slipped from the dock in Southampton. This was Titanic 2, a modern marvel built as both tribute and promise, an unsinkable ship. Rose Dawson Calvert, now an elderly woman, had spoken of Jack Dawson for years to her children and grandchildren. The tale of their fleeting love had become legend in her family. What no one knew, what even she barely understood, was that love sometimes bends time in ways science cannot explain. A familiar face on deck. As the Titanic 2 set sail, a passenger named Eliza Winslow, a 30-year-old historian and journalist, wandered the deck with her notebook. She'd written essays about the original Titanic, but her true reason for boarding was personal. Her grandmother Rose had whispered, with weakening breath, "Find him, Eliza. Sometimes the past waits for us." And then, as Eliza leaned over the railing, she froze. A man stood at the far end of the promenade, sketchbook in hand, his sandy hair catching the wind. His clothes were modern, yet there was something timeless about him. He turned. Her heart skipped. "Jack," she whispered, though she had never met him. The man smiled with a disarming warmth. "Do I know you?" His voice was unmistakable, the same voice Rose had described. It was Jack Dawson, as young as the night he had vanished beneath the Atlantic, untouched by age. The return of Rose. On the ship's second evening, the ballroom glittered with champagne and laughter. Among the passengers, Kate Winslet's Rose was there, not as the old woman of memory, but restored to her youthful self, radiant in a deep emerald gown. No one knew how, not even she. She felt the vibration of the ship under her feet and gasped. It was as if time had folded, as if fate had plucked her from the quiet years and placed her back into the arms of her first love. And there Jack was, across the room, just as she remembered. "Rose," he whispered when their eyes met. She pressed a trembling hand to her lips, tears pooling. It can't be, but it was. Love across time. Neither could explain their presence aboard Titanic 2. To the other passengers, they were just another couple swept up in the voyage's excitement. But when Jack and Rose walked the decks at night, they spoke of the impossible. "I drowned," Jack said quietly, staring into the horizon. "I remember the water closing in, the cold in my lungs. Then nothing. Until now. And I lived," Rose answered, taking his hand. "I lived for us both. I thought I lost you forever." Jack smiled. "Maybe forever isn't as long as we thought." Shadows of the past. But the ship carried more than passengers, it carried echoes. Eliza began noticing strange flickers in mirrors, faces of those who perished in 1912, shadows whispering warnings. At first she thought it was exhaustion, but when she overheard crew members reporting malfunctions, she grew uneasy. One night, she found Jack alone on the bow, sketching. She dared to ask, "Do you remember the iceberg?" He nodded slowly. "I remember everything. History has a way of repeating itself. Maybe that's why I'm here." The storm. On the fourth night, a storm rose without warning. The Atlantic, usually so still, churned with furious waves. Lightning flashed, illuminating the ship's massive hull. Titanic 2 shuddered as if resisting some ancient curse. Alarms blared. Passengers rushed to lifeboats. Rose clung to Jack's arm. "Not again," she cried. "We can't lose each other again." Jack held her tighter. "We won't. Not this time. Choice of fate." But as the storm raged, something extraordinary occurred. Time itself seemed to fracture. Eliza saw it first, a shimmer in the air above the deck, like a doorway of light. Through it, she glimpsed the original Titanic, frozen in its final moments, passengers screaming, water swallowing the decks. Jack felt it too. A pull, a calling. "I think I'm not supposed to be here," he admitted, his eyes heavy with sorrow. "The sea gave me back, but maybe only to say goodbye." Rose shook her head fiercely. "No, we've been given a second chance. Eliza," Jack said suddenly, turning to her. "You carry her blood. You're the reason Rose and I found each other again. But this doorway, it's asking me to return." Rose's heart broke. She had lost him once. She could not bear to lose him again. But then Jack placed his sketchbook in her hands. On the page was a portrait of her, Rose, just as she was that night in 1912 when he first drew her. "Keep me with you," he whispered. "This time, you live not for both of us, but for yourself." Truly. The goodbye. With a final kiss, Jack stepped into the light. The storm ceased instantly, as if the sea itself had released its grip. Titanic 2 steadied, its passengers safe, its voyage continuing. Rose collapsed into Eliza's arms, clutching the sketchbook to her chest. He was real, she sobbed. Even if only for a moment, he was real. The legacy. Days later, Titanic 2 reached New York. The press swarmed, eager for stories of the storm, of malfunctions, of whispers about curses. But Rose and Eliza told only what they could, of survival, of memory, of love enduring. That night in her cabin, Rose opened the sketchbook again. On the final page, words had appeared that she had not seen before. No matter the ocean, no matter the time, we will always find each other. Epilogue. Years passed. Eliza published her book, Titanic, A Love Beyond Time, weaving history with the impossible story of her grandmother. Readers wept, skeptics scoffed, but believers found hope. And sometimes, when Rose sat by the ocean in her final years, she felt him. The warmth of a hand in hers, the whisper of his voice carried by the tide. Love, she realized, is not bound by death, nor by the cold of the sea. It waits, patient and eternal, like the horizon itself.